can't do the opening on Joe's channel, but he told me we can't do it anymore. So I'm just going to come on dry, as some of my friends once told me. The phone number is 888-659-3727. We are live. Great to be here on our Friday night version of The Bald Truth. Joe Tillman is with us. He is doing better than he was last week, so he decided to join us. Joe, what's happening, brother?
Still kind of pissed about being sick. Still sick, but much better.
You know, it definitely puts everything in perspective.
It puts things in perspective as far as how valuable time is, because that's what I'm pissed about. It's like I was saying before the show, it's like, put me in the hospital. I'm fine. I don't care about that. Just let me get out quickly so I can go on and start doing my thing. It's this being dragged out for 7-8 days that's such a pain in the ass. It's like, I got stuff to do. Can I stop being sick, please? Like, is there something I can do about this? Of course there's not, because it's the big C word and nothing really, gets that out. It gives
it's
me
not
a great
the big
radio
C
voice,
word. Don't say that. God forbid.
It gives me a fantastic radio voice. A little bit of raspiness, never hurt ratings.
It's not the big C. It's not the big C. Don't say that. Take that back. The big C is something else.
I don't get that. I'm sick. I can't understand what you're saying. But I will tell you, I'm kind of fired up today because a couple things going on. I didn't even get to talk to you about this before the show.
You know what? I'm going to let you speak because I definitely think I tried to change the exposure of my camera, but it looks slightly overexposed on YouTube. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to let you, not you, just me. And I'm going to let you do your thing.
Well, and to USA Chat now, is that pic for this video real? No, that is a rendering that I had created to get your attention. I guess it worked. So I was looking on Instagram today, and see if I can pull this up real quick. Yeah, something by Dr. Gary.
Gary
popped
who?
up in my Dr. Gary. Dr. What?
Linkoff.
Linkoff. Sorry,
YouTuber.
His last name. The YouTuber.
I forget that he's a doctor.
Instagrammer. I know, right? Yeah. So, it blew my mind. He's talking about this woman that had some aesthetic procedures for her body. She was like some sort of Instagram or YouTube fitness influencer, and she was documenting some procedures she was having where, and I don't know anything about this type of procedure, but she was having injectables done that helped to dissolve body fat. And I never even heard of this being a thing.
Yeah.
But apparently, for the past year, or close to a year, she's been battling this internal infection where different parts of her body...
What is it called?
What?
It's called Kybella?
She got a myobacterium.
Right, but the injection that she had.
Mycobacterium. Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
I saved a screenshot of the event just so I can not have to scroll through to find it. But I didn't write any of this down. I just did a quick screenshot. But it's on Dr. Gary NYC. You got to check this out. Like, this chick, I feel so bad for this woman. She had these they look like boils all over her body. It was really terrible looking. And to be an influencer and you're documenting this from the beginning, to have it, like, it's got to be terrible just for the aesthetic, obviously. But the fact she has to go through this is terrible, but it's also documenting something that it makes it difficult. It's difficult to believe that people would do this to other people. And the reason why she came down with this mycobacterium, that is a persistent infection in her body. It keeps coming back. Like, they think they took care of it, but it keeps coming back. And they're like quarter or even silver dollar sized scars now all over her body because of this infection. Looks terrible. And the reason why she got this infection is because the med spa that she went to ordered their injectables from wait for it, Alibaba.
I know.
They ordered injectables from Alibaba
Yeah.
out of China.
It's actually more common than I think people fully comprehend. There's a lot of Chinese and Indian injectables that,
blew my mind. Like, what in the actual F? How someone could, like, just to save a few bucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's been going on with Botox. It's been going on with fillers. You really have to do your due diligence. And I always tell consumers, when I was doing Plastic Surgery Live, when I did that, those pilots, the very first show that I did was for Real Self. And I got to tell you, man, that was an experience. I thought hair was bad. They wanted me to do a show on liquid facelifts. And I'm like, I cannot call it a liquid facelift. You're just putting injectables in these people's faces. This isn't a facelift. I titled it something different. I did the broadcast. And now this is with a board-certified plastic surgeon. He was using legit products. But one thing that I brought up that no one wanted to bring up is you have to ask to see the actual container that this injectable is coming from. You want to see the label and you want to see the insert. You want to see it come out of a box, if possible.
Made in where? That's the first thing you should look for.
Yeah, but you want to make sure that it's either name brand, say it's Kybella, say it's an allergen product. You want to make sure that at the very least, even though I have to say, all injectables are very questionable. The long-term adverse events of like long-term use of Botox, even short-term to some degree, it's really starting to come out in the wash now. More women are dealing with botulism toxin. Just think about it. It's Botox.
They have no idea where the tox comes from, where the bow comes from.
So there are groups, and there's thousands of women who have been hospitalized, paralyzed.
What about men? Men are getting this a lot too.
Yeah, but it's the women that are coming out who are talking about it. And then all these young girls are doing it prophylactically. It's being sold by these, board-certified dermatologists. And, forget about the med spas. What about even the real doctors are out there pimping this shit out as something that's a positive, that, you can stop these static lines. You can stop this. You can prevent this. All this anti-aging bullshit with these chemicals and these toxins and these fillers that do not simply, they're not simply excreted out of your body. Even Botox, they're finding out, stays in your body for long periods of time. Now, the neurotoxin may stop working as far as your muscle movements, but that shit's in your brain. You don't think that crosses the brain
Blood-brain barrier?
Blood-brain barrier? It's tough for me. I mean, listen, I understand it. We all want to look our best. But this thing is being sold off a menu. People are having parties in hotel rooms.
Oh, yeah.
I am not a fan of doctors who are doing a lot of injectables. And I think that things like Sculptra or, Juvederm or whatever, these were all created initially, or at least these hyaluronic acid fillers, can't speak today, were all essentially created to manage and to correct real deformities, surgical defects, other defects, caused by disease. And then these companies are like, wait a second, what we can do is we could pump people's faces with this shit and tell them they're going to look young forever. That's it. That's all I have to say about that, Joe. Dude, so I don't know if it's me or you. Am I freezing up or is it just you? It's like very slight. It happens for a second.
Well, I'm noticing on the feed back to me that I freeze for just a second.
Yeah.
Like it blips. I don't see you doing it. I see me doing it. And it's strange.
Well, as long as I'm not doing it. No, but it's very
That's what matters.
possible. It's the our software call system. I don't know.
Could be. But it's interesting. I just realized when they say prevent wrinkles from happening, this whole prophylactic treatment thing. It's the same thing in hair restoration of staying ahead of your hair loss. It's like, no, you don't stay ahead of your hair loss by having preemptive surgery. There is no such thing as preemptive surgery. It doesn't work like that. You start to thin, go bald, then you can have surgery. You develop some wrinkles, then you can get your Botox. It's the same thing.
Well, I also don't think that guys and women, especially when they're young, they don't realize the atrophy that will occur if you're not using these muscles. Now, the thing is, what they also don't explain to you, it's not just, we injected into this area and the muscles are temporarily paralyzed. It actually creates a blockage of neural pathways that actually move your muscles. So you're essentially fucking with your brain. And doctors, you can call and correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it's insanity. I really do. And I got to tell you, I do my best to try to look as youthful as I can. What do? I exercise. My mantra is I only smoke if I get loaded, and I only get loaded maybe once a year, twice a year at the most. And and now we're talking about this, guys. The phone number is 888-659-3727. It's a call-in show. We're going to be talking about hair loss. So if you want to call in and ask questions, that's what we're here for. But if you don't call in, we leave. I don't give a shit. I got stuff to do. It's Friday night. I can go out. So if you want to call in, great. If you don't, you guys can all fuck yourselves. Joe and I will have a conversation, and then we'll head out. Joe's not even feeling well.
I don't recall hearing a show host saying, if you don't like it, audience, go fuck yourself.
Well, listen, that's how I feel about it. We're here to help people.
That's
We're
good.
here to provide people with a free service. We want to guide them in a safe direction. This is not my bread and butter. I do this as a public service. Forget about what the trolls on Reddit and wherever else have been trolling me over the years say. I think anyone who actually watches this program for a long period of time understands what Joe and I actually do. We're here to tell you the truth. And we're talking about, just like with hair transplant surgery, cosmetic surgery, this whole anti-aging movement, biohacking, low T. First of all, low T marketing term, biohacking, total marketing term. Anti-aging. You cannot anti-age. What you can do is you can set up your lifestyle to age the way we were meant to age, meaning we're not hastening the aging process by smoking, drinking a lot, eating, all the crazy processed foods, staying away from chemicals as best as you can. We are meant to age more slowly than people are aging. Now, granted, there were diseases and things that have essentially been wiped out and are much more manageable so people can live longer because of that. But anyone who's out there claiming that they're a fucking biohacker or an anti-aging medicine specialist or all that stuff, it's complete nonsense. And any doctor out there or any biohacker who wants to call the program and have a debate about this, I'll debate you.
I just look at it like this. If someone says they're a biohacker, look at them. Do they look like they're successful?
Well,
If not,
you may want to look at their bank
Probably don't want to
accounts.
listen to them.
You may want to look at their bank accounts. But there's plenty of people who are in the biohacking sphere who take care of themselves. They look great, whatever it is. Biohacking is a really brilliant marketing term, and I can't fault anybody for creating it. I think it was Dave Asprey. I think it was Dave Asprey who created it.
Yeah, I believe it was Dave. And there's the same thing with wellness. Wellness this, wellness that. That was another great one.
Hair wellness.
Anything wellness. Alcohol wellness. Getting loaded wellness. Speaking of which, Hair Loss Cure 2020, welcome to the chat. Good to have our friend here. He goes, after I found out that alcohol crosses the blood-brain barrier, I stopped caring about my brain's long-term prospects. Cheers. By the way, a quick search seems to suggest that Botox does not cross the blood-brain barrier.
That's awesome, but it
That is
somehow,
awesome.
but it somehow affects the neurological process and the signaling of how your brain moves your muscles in your face. And it's not just by paralyzing the muscle.
Yeah.
So that's good that it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. But I can tell you this, there are plenty of people, sadly, who are hospitalized, who have never been the same, who are recovering from either long-term or even short-term Botox use. You know, so I'm not trying to cause mass hysteria, but it's not a simple walk in the park. It's not like, yeah, you know what, everybody's doing it, I'm going to do it. You really have to be fully informed before you take that step. You know, when it comes to like hair loss meds, people freak the fuck out. But at the very least, these particular medications stop a real disease process of the hair and can reverse it. You know, it's really one of the few real anti-aging medications, if you want to use the word anti-aging, because it stops the aging of the hair follicle. Pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, yeah, you understand the risk benefit of that, and you decide to move forward. Listen, I'm a guy, so maybe wrinkles aren't that bad in my mind, you know, and I understand that women need to stay youthful, but there's a lot of guys who are doing it. But there's nothing wrong with working out, aging as gracefully as possible, and then if you need it, cold hard steel is the way to go. Don't need to inject anything. Cold hard steel. Get yourself, you know, a really good plastic surgeon and go to town. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. We'll get into the biohacking and the anti-aging gurus and all the happy horse shit. But I will tell you this. Any biohacker, any anti-aging guy, any, you know, health influencer that ever crosses into the hair loss sphere has always completely lost my respect. And it's sad.
Yeah.
Because it really does essentially expose a lot of these people for the reality of what they're spewing. And you just don't know what to believe once they're in your sphere of expertise and they are completely spewing nonsense. You're like, what else are they bullshitting about?
Brian Johnson. What?
Oh.
Did I just say that? What?
Listen,
Anyway.
I would say that, and again, I think the guy's a thoughtful, interesting guy. I'm glad he's experimenting on himself. There are obviously issues I don't agree with. You know, he actually put out something on radio frequency, topical radio frequency therapy, like what are those called? Like I think there's like a Morpheus 8, and there's some other ones that don't have microneedling. Mm-hmm. But we do know that using, is it radio frequency, RF?
Well, it's radio frequency microneedling. It's both combined in one procedure, isn't it? Morpheus?
Well, that's it. But is it radio frequency? Am I losing my mind?
No, it's RF. Yeah.
It's RF, but is it radio frequency? It's not radio frequency.
Well, let's look this up, shall we?
Look it up for me because
Pretty sure it
I want to be accurate. Jamie, do me a favor. Look this up.
I was just going to say, Jamie. Yeah, fractional bipolar radio frequency platform for the body, Morpheus 8.
And what is it? Radio frequency?
Fractional bipolar radio frequency platform for body. That's
okay. So anyway, you use any of this shit in your face, you realize that you're anytime you heat your face in any way, you are really destroying subcutaneous fat. So if any man or woman wants to age himself more rapidly, the two things they need to do is RF to the face and fillers. And you will be in the plastic surgeon's chair faster than you would have been if you didn't do that shit to yourself.
Words to think about. Well
888-659-3727. Yeah, May, we got some calls. Hold on. Jesus. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Hey, caller, what's up?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Rahul. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
What's happening? Who's this? Guy hung up. Guys,
He
lines
just wanted to
open.
say hi. And
Triple
that's
eight
fine.
659-3727 is a toll-free number. It's the Hair Loss Show. I know you missed us last week, but if we don't get calls, you're going to miss us a lot more because I'm not going to come back. That's how I feel about
Well,
it.
they shouldn't have missed us because you were on Instagram last Friday.
I was in Instagram, but we got like half the viewers on Instagram, which is actually pretty impressive. I was surprised at how many calls we got.
Yeah, you did well, for
See
sure.
who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Joe and Spencer. I'm Rahul. I'm calling from Dubai.
Oh, hey, man.
Calling from Dubai. Hey, man.
I'm
What's your
good.
name?
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Rahul?
Rahul?
I called you last month. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. So what's up, man?
I'm just doing my research for my surgery. I'm consulting with my doctors. I created a long list of doctors, consulted with them, around 18, 19 doctors, but getting confused, a lot of confusion. So one of my confusion is the approach, whether the combination of FUT or FUE or just go with the FUE surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is other cases like how many grafts shall I go with in a single procedure and all the things. So my current age is 28, and on the Norwood scale, I'm Norwood 4. Some doctors say it's not Norwood 3, some say it's 5. So it's
it's easy
hanging
to
all over.
differentiate. Is your crown bald at any degree?
No.
Is it thinning? No, it's not bald.
It's not bald, but it's crazy thin. But I can see a lot of hair, but it's thin. I can see a scalp. I actually sent you images also 1 hour back.
So
on your Instagram.
The doctors that are talking about you being a 5 are probably talking about your pattern as it will develop. You'll develop into a 5 because they can see the pattern. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yes. So I talked with, I think, Dr. Sever, and he asked me to provide some photos of my father. So, he was telling like it's going into the same pattern and it will be like a Norwood 5. So,
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's the question that I have. So, whether shall I go with a FUE approach, or I can start with a combination of both FUT and FUE so that I can have more grafts in my bank.
Okay, I think it's a great question that a lot of young guys, you said you're 28, aren't even going to ask. And I think the reason you're asking, obviously, is because you follow what we do. I'm a fan of surgery as a last resort. And if you're able to respond well to medication and turn that potential Norwood 5 around, that would be something that I would consider. I forgot if you told me if you were on medication or not.
Yes, I'm on medication. So total 2.5 years it's been, but for last 1.5 year it's been total 2.5 years on medicine.
Okay, what medicine?
2.5 years.
So, but as I discussed earlier also, that for 1.5 years, I was using finasteride 1 mg alternate days and topical minoxidil. But after 1.5 years, I shifted to Dubai. So I got a lot of shed and crazy dandruff. Then I have to switch to oral minoxidil and daily finasteride 1 mg. It's been around 9 months on that medication.
How's that worked out for you?
It just stopped my shed, and it still did not recover that much ground.
Okay, but you have recovered some ground?
Yes.
Okay. And so what did Haddington Hair suggest for you?
basically, Dr. Sever gave me three options. First is to shave your head, try to shave your hair and just, go bald naturally. Second is continue with the medicines. Try to find a hairstyle that will suit and, just topic concealers and sprays, okay. Third one is the hair transplant. So for hair transplant, he checked the video and he said like the toner is good. So he suggested that since you're in your early 20s, you might want to have options in the future. So it will be better if we go with the FUEs, so that if you want to, there will be options for you. Maybe down the line you don't want to, you might regret that scar or anything. So all those things he was telling.
That's very reasonable.
It is reasonable. It's interesting. As you're talking about the three options he gave you or he shared with you in his opinion, I think it's interesting and unique, and I think everyone listening and watching should take note that the doctor told the patient there were two options other than surgery. And I think that's the mark of a really caring facility where they're not trying to just march you into the chair
100%.
to get you into having a surgery. And the first thing he offered you or suggested to you was to shave your head. I think that's the first thing you should do. And the reason being is because if you don't like it, then and you can move on with your options. But you might wind up liking it or deciding that it's acceptable. And it's like, hey, I saved myself a lot of money and potential, emotional trauma if it doesn't work out. It's safe. And if you want to reverse it, you can by just waiting 6 months and your hair is completely grown back out. Is that something you'd consider?
I can try that.
Like you can still take your medication. You don't need to stop taking your medication. In fact, I would recommend that you don't if you are trying the head shaving option, because you will experience hair loss even as with a shaved head. You just don't see it. You just don't see it happening. So that when you do wind up growing your hair out, if you decide to, that's when it all comes crashing down, because you see how much you've lost because you got off of medication. So I think that's the way forward. Shave your head. See how you like it. And if you don't like it, if you're like, this is not for me, I look like an egghead, or I look like a something that I just don't like, then you can cross that off your list. And moving forward, you won't look back in the past and say, I wish I'd tried shaving my head. You'll know. You can continue to fight it with medication, which you should always do regardless of surgery, undertaking surgery. Always stay on the medication. Try shaving your head. If you don't like it, let it grow back out. See if you even gain some more hair when it grows back out, because you're going to stay on the medication. You still have more time for it to increase the volume and maybe even some visible hairs growing, so it might even look better. And in the end, if surgery is what you want to decide to go for, then it is reasonable to go with FUE. And it's interesting because Haddigan Hair started doing larger FUE sessions because they switched over to the WAS system. They're using the trumpet punch. They really love the results. They're able to get more grafts in a day, and they got great survival rates. Beforehand, they were doing it all manually. Punch between the index finger and the thumb. They don't do that anymore. They will in some cases, and a little bit here and there to get specific grafts, but they're mainly using the WAS system, and they love it, and for good reason. It's a great system. I still think that an FUT first might be in the cards. You can talk to them about it. Ask them, if they still, because they were a big proponent of that approach in the past. Ask them why that is or is not a good idea for you. FUT first and then FUE. I think just to see what they say.
I think that, we don't realize, especially when we're 28 years old, you think, oh, you're 2 years shy of 30. You don't really realize how young 28 is until you get to like my age or a little younger. And you also don't realize, and again, I've been in this field for almost 30 years, that even in the best hands, almost all the guys that have had hair transplant surgery, even from the best doctors in the world, when I first started in this field, are either in need of more surgery now or are just kind of living with their diminished results in their 40s and 50s. Because either they stopped taking medication or they felt medication, or medication, they weren't responding as well to medication. They may have responded kind of quasi-well at the beginning, but their genetics were just too strong because they started to bald at such a young age. So there are plenty of guys who were thrilled with their hair transplant in 2004. I mean, life-changing results. If they were to call now, they would say, I'm not miserable by the fact, it doesn't make me miserable that I did it. But now that I'm older and I see that it didn't really last as long and I think, my native hair really started to thin, maybe I wouldn't have done it if I knew this was going to happen. So you're kind of at that age where you should exhaust all of your options first. Shaving your head, if you can deal with that, do it. Keep taking medication like Joe says. The one option that they didn't bring up, which is almost taboo, especially for hair transplant surgeons to bring up, is the possibility of wearing a light hair system in the future, so you could avoid surgery.
Yeah.
That's an option too. You see a lot of young guys online now, like on TikTok, they're rocking. I mean, some of them look like it's crazy what they put on their head, but there's others who really do it well, and they're young, and they're getting a lot of praise from, people, young women saying, oh, good for you. We get our boobs done, you can get your hair done. They don't really understand it because it doesn't look like old school toupee. So they're just like, yeah, good for you. So that's a non-invasive option as well that should be on the table. But I think
Okay. So that's the fourth option.
Yeah. So in the long run, your age, your baldness pattern, to get the most grafts, you really do have to do a hybrid. But I understand Sever's recommendation, being your age, that it does take you out of the option realm once you have that linear scar to shave your head without having a scar. And I mean, Joe Rogan did it, and he managed just fine. But again, he's Joe Rogan. There's a lot of people who can't manage as well with that scar in the back of their head if they decide to shave. So maybe it was based on your personality. Maybe it was based on your age. There's a lot of reasons why he suggested FUE first. And it was probably about just you having more options down the line.
Yeah.
I know it's disappointing to hear
that's
when you want surgery. I know it's disappointing to hear the truth and to hear that you should really consider being a bald person and seeing how you can deal with that. It sucks. And I think one of the reasons why Joe's channel has not exploded like everybody else's is because he tells the truth. And when we do the show, we tell the truth. And the truth isn't always that exciting to people. But at least you're prepared for anything. If you decide to have surgery, you know what the possible downsides are. You may get 20 years out of your surgery and be thrilled. And then by the time things start to diminish, maybe we're going to have, different processes of, reversing scar tissue or, they're working on that skin gun, which has never come to fruition. But, who knows what we're going to have in 20 years. But shaving is always your first option, in your case especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have watched most of your videos and this thing shows bald truth. So I actually kind of know what your answers would be. Because I've watched like hundreds of your, more than 50, when I scroll down my YouTube for like Joe's channel for all the episodes I've watched, around 50, 60, all of them are shown like you have already watched.
Well, we're going to test you on that, and if you pass the test, Joe's going to offer you a free hair transplant.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it.
I'll perform it.
Dude, you might as well. All these transplants that are being offered for like contests,
I'd actually do better than some of these guys.
you would do
out
better
here.
than some of these doctors.
Yeah.
But first of all, listen, man, I know you sound, I don't want you to sound dejected, but like you said, you have listened to us before. And there's no skin in the game for us to tell you the truth. You know, it doesn't
Sure.
benefit us in any way financially or anything. But in the long run, you know, it's good karma. And it's just the truth. We don't want to see you guys get fucked up. We just want you to be prepared for anything. But you have had, 19 consultations, that's a lot. That's pretty intensive
Yeah, actually,
work.
most of them, doctors do not give that much time. It's more like, WhatsApp consultations. And sometimes I visit them in person. Like Erdogan, Dr. Erdogan was here in Dubai, so I visited him. Some of them, they just talk on phone or video. So, yeah, not like all have talked in person. Most of them would be
Yeah.
like WhatsApp chat or the consultant.
And
I
salesman.
will talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think Joe gave you a really great response, and I think if you're capable, if you're willing to deal with it, if you think that you can, then at least clip it down really short, like to like a number 1 or number 2. See how you do. And honestly, if you're just kind of like, if they're just seeing the Norwood 5 pattern, it's very possible that if you shave down pretty close, it could look like you have a lot more hair as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
I
continue
didn't
your
get that
medication.
point. Like when I shave, it will look better.
It could look better, yes. It could,
Okay, when the hairs will grow. Okay.
No, when you shave, when you shave
Yeah.
your head, you don't have to necessarily shave it to the bone. If there's still hair in the Norwood 5 pattern, do you still have a hairline?
Yes, I have a hairline and it's fine. Like it looks fine. It's just small hairs. They are not like I can comb or anything like that.
Well, if you shave down
I
to
have
a
a
number
hairline.
2 or a 1 guard, and you keep a buzz cut, you may look like you have a full head of hair for a long period of time. You don't have to go completely bald, and you may be able to, if you have a hairline to frame your face, you may like that look.
Yeah.
And continue medication. If you try to grow it out, you may realize you have more hair in a year.
Yeah, that can work. I can throw some topic and this thing and it will go. If there is like a patch.
Well, I'm
in
glad
that,
you're open to that, because that really is that's the first option to try. And that may give you a lot of living, a lot of, without staring in the mirror, going out, feeling comfortable in your own skin if you have that hairline. That may give you a lot of time to make and to, really consider what decision or what direction you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Is there any other question?
Yeah. I think I'm good.
Okay, cheer up, man.
It's all good.
You're gonna be
All good,
okay.
man. All good.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. You're good.
Yeah, it's all good. Oh, no, actually, I knew the answer, and I know I knew we needed to do this first, but still, it's tough to just shave it off,
It's very tough. It's one of the hardest things that people
Yeah.
can do. I don't take it lightly when I tell people to do that. The only reason I suggest it, I'm not equipped. I wasn't equipped to do that, And I luckily medication and paint and a little bit of a hairspray and a comb over, it held me over all these years. But
Yeah.
if you can do it, if you have the right shaped face and you're willing to give it a shot, it's very possible you're going to put surgery on the back burner for a very long time.
Yeah. I can try buzz cut, yeah.
Yeah.
First, I can't just shave it off.
Yeah, you could
I'll
slowly
try
cut
that.
it, slowly trim it, and see how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother. Listen, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for the call.
Good luck, guys.
Okay.
I really appreciate all
Take
your
care.
work.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. That is 888-659-3727. Lines are open. Call us. We don't receive a call. Maybe I'll go live on Instagram alone. I don't know. Actually, I can go out on Joe. We could just switch things. See
Yeah,
what happens.
we could just switch. Yeah.
You know, fuck you guys on YouTube.
God bless them all.
That's how I feel about it. You know, you guys want to hang out in the chat room. You guys want to kind of watch us in the shadows, whatever it is. It's great. I understand that. But I could just interview people and do a podcast. Joe could do the same thing. We want to hear your stories and answer your questions. I'll take this call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
It's May from Kazakhstan.
Oh, shit.
What up, May?
What's up, May?
We need an intro for him.
We're going
we
to
need an
actually,
intro for
you know
him.
what? I think I'm going to have one produced at some point. I'll do that's a good
There
idea.
you go. Yeah. What's up, May?
What?
An introduction.
Such an honor.
A nice, something,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. It's such an...
Maybe I'll get some
You know-
Kazakhstan music. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Perhaps I'm going to send you something.
Okay. You know, we got to have the copyright, though. So what's
a
up?
mystery box.
I'm going to play it by myself. You know, we have our traditional musician instruments.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, I'm calling in because it is about my situation also. What was the guy's name? What was his name?
Who? The
From
last
Dubai.
guy?
From Dubai.
Oh, we didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think. Rahul, I think.
Rahul. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It sounds more like Mexican to me. And my first thought about that was to tell that guy, hey man, go for HT because I would give a fortune if I could just turn back the time to just have that opportunity, have that knowledge in my 9 years or 30 years. But I'm not going to say go for HT. I'm not going to say it. But I just say if he's listening, I would say if I were 29 years old, I would go for HT, knowing what I know today.
Well, he's only 28, so
Because-
he's got a year.
Okay, Rahul needs to wait 1 year, but no more. He can, continue to use that. Remind me, please. That medicine, our medicine. Not minoxidil, but finasteride. Yeah, finasteride.
Now, what happens if he says, you know what, I'm not going to have a hair transplant, but I'm going to invest in, a business, or I'm going to do something. I'm going to take this money, I'm going to do something with it to better my life. We've had guys who were young. We had guys who were young here in the U.S. I never forget this guy, Vic from D.C., and talked him out of a hair transplant. He definitely wasn't a candidate for one. Talked him out of a hair transplant. He calls the show like 15 years later to say that he took that money, invested it in his education, became a professional, found a wife, got married, had kids. And he said he doesn't know if that would have happened if he decided to have surgery. He wouldn't have had the money, and also, if anything went wrong, he wouldn't have been the same person. Mm-hmm. So why isn't that an option?
It's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. Come on, man. If you say to me, for example, that another HT for me would cost $50,000 and it will be guaranteed that I would have a good result, I'm going to pay it personally. And I am from Kazakhstan. I am a kind of, Muslim, but I am stepping Muslim. Those guys, they are desert Muslims. They are much, much more, they have more money, I believe so, for instance.
The desert Muslims.
And yeah. We're a bit different. We're close, but we're a bit different. I'm a Stepan. I mean, I am a Muslim who believes in the Darwin theory, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah. And I would just say this, just my opinion. You provided your opinion because I believe personally inside. I think that What you saying and what Dr. Mursano saying is just professional courtesy, because he thinks that he has to provide this option to any patient. But I think it's just professional courtesy. I would say, forgive me for that word, but I was on that for more than 10 years. Fuck that additional routine. Fuck that these concealers, minoxidil, only finasteride, And by the way, when I was first time on my first HTS, I'm not making this up. I encountered the guy in the hall of Headingen's clinic, in the hall. And he was his front line and his front part, he had a lot of density there, but he's got some bold place in the middle. And he also got some more or less good density on the crown. And I asked him, what is this? And he said that he did his first HT 7 years ago. And then he returned because he continued his boldness was continuing,
So your point is, no matter what the situation, just go for surgery. Don't waste your time.
No. Don't make this like that. No matter what. His situation, he was on the finasteride for more than 1 year at least, right? He tried this, and I believe he recovered some hair, even more than 1 year. So he tried this, and if he gives it even, say, 1 year, I think it would be maximum. It would be good, just 1 year more. But he have to. Well,
but May, what happens if he shaves his head and he happens to be a handsome guy that looks good with a shaved head? Isn't that a great option?
That's a great option, but the percentage of this, how to say вероятность на английском? Сейчас, секунду.
What was that?
Probability of this is so freaking low. Come on, man. The guy would came to this even without you. He would understand. He would look at his facial structure. If he looks like Statham or Bruce Willis, he would do so. If he has smaller ear or smaller nose.
But you know what's interesting, and I understand your point, and it's a point well taken. It is the anomaly. It is the rarity that a guy looks better without his hair or with a shaved head. That is not common. But some people who don't think they're going to look good do it, and then they're like, holy shit, I'm surprised at how comfortable I am and how good I feel with it. And sometimes it's people you would never expect. They may have slightly bigger ears or a bigger nose or a higher forehead, or maybe they have a weaker chin than stay them or whatever it is. But for some reason, it all comes together and it works for them. So there is a slight possibility, even though he may not want this or he may not realize it yet, that once he does it, he looks okay.
Okay, let's make it like this. He will take a year. She should take a year, and he should shave his hair, and he will still use finasteride. We'll let him be on finasteride. I just hypothetically say, we don't give him straight instruction, but it's just, an example. Okay, he can try to be bold, but I think he would understand whether he's good with the bald hair, with the shaved hair.
Yeah, but you're right. But it's a good. I understand your point, but that's all conjecture. You have no idea. This guy who called in, you may look at him. He may have these incredible, heavy eyebrows and a well-structured face. And when you start to lose your hair and things change, it freaks you out. It freaks out very handsome guys. It freaks them out. And
I do know that, believe me.
Yeah. So you just don't know. So yes, I mean, I think the advice that you just provided, which is basically the same advice that we provided, give it a year, shave your head, stay on medication, see what happens. Surgery is always going to be there.
Yeah, 1 year maximum because he have to live his life, and with a good HT result, he would live it much more easier and better. Because you said something, you need to get up earlier for some additional routine. Because personally, I think you say this because you are different. You don't work for a corporation, for example, yeah. And what's earlier to you? 8 p.m. Well, earlier to me, for example, it is 6 p.m. because I work for freaking corporation.
6 a.m. You mean?
So 6 a.m. Sorry, and 8 a.m. Yeah, I mean, if HT result is good, the life would be much more easier, and much more cooler, and you just try to decrease the risk of a bad HT, and if you don't like being bald, go for FUT, of course, but because you will not go with the shaved head, and that scar wouldn't be bother you. Yeah, and actually he did ask about why FUT not FUE, and you told him the reason is just having an option because of the scar, right?
He asked why FUE not FUT.
But the scar here, it is okay. It is one of the parameters you should consider, but there is also other parameters, I think, because it is kind of hard to have FUT after bad FUE. If your first FUE,
you're right about that, and that's something that I've always discussed. That if you're going to have both, if you need a lot of hair to be moved, you probably want the best option is to have FUT first. You want to go into virgin
scalp. You
should
know about that.
Yeah, I do. So you should. This guy's so fucking funny. You should go into virgin scalp, take that peninsula of hair out as much as you can, and then you could always either have another strip, or if you are uncomfortable with that, at the very least you got a good amount of the sweet spot out for the first procedure. But that's not always practical emotionally for younger guys. They may want.
No. You shouldn't. You say what you say, of course. But if you say it more, they just start to pay attention to it more. When you say about the scar, for example, I would say, what the, fuck that scar. I don't remember myself thinking about the scar even for a moment.
Yeah, but May, it's interesting. You're an interesting character because I don't think, and maybe empathy is
like
not.
Like everybody are.
Yes, but maybe empathy is not your strong suit. You provide, you are talking about how you would feel, what you think, what you would do, without really taking into consideration that everybody is different. And what you can deal with may not be what other people can deal with emotionally. You may be stronger in that respect. It may not.
I can't say the same about you, my friend, about empathy thing. And I'm sorry for. Okay, please continue. But I think you understand.
No, you go ahead, man.
It's just, I need to provide him some other point of view. He calls you guys, you are authorities, but had authority. Yeah, you got experience, but I also have my experience, and I was in Hattingen. I walked through the whole path, and oh, come on, man, you're pushing me to that way. We're gonna fight. Well, okay, I'm gonna say something. Everybody in this industry, everybody.
He just had a whole thing, a whole conversation in his head. I'm just being quiet, and he just had this whole thing in his head.
And he gets to the conclusion that you're going to fight.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious.
I mean, you said something about empathy. It is not my good come on, man. Well, I am trying to be objective, and I'm trying to give that guy another opinion, another point of
And
view.
you did, and we allowed you to. So what do you want? What do you want from us?
Empathy is not my strong suit. Maybe empathy is not the strongest suit of yours, perhaps. Everybody has its limitation. I have my limitation, and you have your limitation.
Absolutely.
We have not noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly do have my limitations. I also have my limitations as far as continuing with this call because we have other callers.
Yeah, very good. That was smart. Very good. I walked through the path just recently. Yes, and I think I got some perception. Maybe I do understand these people perhaps a little bit more in some way than you do.
Well, here's the beauty of the internet, and here's the beauty of living in this time, is that you could turn on your camera and or a microphone, and you could put out a broadcast, and you can talk to people from your point of view and provide them with your perspective as a hair transplant patient, as someone who has very strong opinions, and you could use that, you could be empathetic on your own platform and provide them with the information that you want to provide them with. There's nothing wrong with that. I say go for it.
So you telling me to make my own show? I'm using your show, man.
But the point is, you have to, by us allowing you to state your point of view, you don't have to be argumentative about our point of view. I make certain statements. I make certain statements based on what I see from you, but you have to understand that there's a level of, and I think you should understand that there should be a level of, like you said, you're calling our show. There should be a level of, I don't know, discipline, self-discipline, maybe just a slight bit of respect for what we're trying to accomplish here, and that's it.
So why are you saying I don't show respect?
Oh, Jesus Christ, brother.
Here we go.
Empathy.
Here we go.
You said about that empathy is not my strongest suit. You said this.
I said maybe it's not your strongest suit, brother.
Come on, maybe you said it to me. Come on, man. Come on.
May, listen. We like taking your calls. You're a very interesting guy. You do have a lot to say, but you got to give it a fucking rest. If you don't like what we're saying, then call again next week, and maybe you'll like what we're saying next week. But this is a conversation. It goes two ways. That's what the whole point of a call-in show. That's it. It goes two ways. If you don't like what we have to say, then that's what it is. You have to deal with that. And we will provide, and I will provide my opinion based on all the experience that I have. You provide your opinion based on your personal experience, and we talk like normal human beings.
Yeah. But when you make it personal, like it's not strongest suit, you try to describe.
You're taking things personally because that is the way that you perceive things in life, apparently. Not, another person wouldn't take it as personally when someone says, well, maybe empathy is not your strong suit. They would explain, well, actually, I think empathy is my strong suit because of this, and this. But you go on the warpath right away. So you should take that in try to digest that. And then the next time you call and we have a conversation, you'd be like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't get as upset about a guy behind a microphone having a conversation with me and maybe pointing out something that he may see. Even if I believe that's not true, I'll just explain why that's not true. That's how discourse happens, my man.
Maybe
well, you are
it's from
explaining me how discourse.
What was that?
You didn't provide arguments why empathy is not my strongest suit. Come on. Okay, I'm going to forget about this, because I was mad about you even before I called, but I just forgot why. and I just called in.
This could be
Guys, hold on. We'll take your calls in a second. Go ahead.
this could be from the language barrier. Just saying.
Yeah, I would say that.
Just saying.
I would say that it is. I would say that it is, and it's unfortunate.
I'm gonna go to Feller and Bloxham. I'm gonna switch from Haddington and go to Feller and Bloxham. I'm gonna find your address. I'm gonna go after you, and then you're gonna kick my ass because you two are working out. All right.
Listen, May.
Okay.
I'm glad we could argue and we could still be friends. All right, brother, and that's the truth.
We are friends, but you should. If you said that I am just less words, empathy is not my strong.
All right, so how about this?
I think.
How about I take that back and say, you know what? Maybe empathy is your strong suit. Maybe you are more empathetic than I realize, and I apologize. Does that make you feel better?
That would be if you really think so, that would be better because you need to provide some arguments. I think I understand the guy. I understand him.
Okay. Well, you know what? Next time I make a statement like that about your, possible lack of empathy, I will provide arguments. Maybe I'll have footnotes to those arguments as well.
That would be cool.
All right, brother. Thanks for the call.
Hey, Rahul.
Take care, man.
For HT. Yeah.
Take care,
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
888-659-3727. I got to tell you, he does keep me on my toes, though.
I let you handle the whole thing. God bless his heart. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah. He definitely keeps me on my toes. Let's see what this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Byron. I'm calling you from Seattle, Washington.
Byron, man.
Hello,
you got
Byron.
some pipes. You have a radio voice. What's happening, my man?
That's right, man.
Oh, well, that's really kind of you to say. Thank you. So I have some quick questions. I don't know if it's quite relevant to what you all are discussing about hair transplants, but I'm trying to do everything that I can prior to needing to get a hair transplant. So I don't want to have to get a transplant if I don't have to. And I haven't been to a doctor, so this is all it's all my self-diagnosis. It's all.
Let me ask you a few questions before you continue. How old are you and how long have you been dealing with hair loss?
30, and I believe perhaps maybe 5 to 7 years. And it's not extreme hair loss. It just seems to be in the temples, my hairline, really.
Okay, so you think you're progressing slowly, but you've been progressing since you're in your mid to early 20s.
I think so, and I don't know if it's genetic or I don't know if it's stress related because I've had a lot of stress in my life for the past 10 years. But you deal with things as you can, and you try to take a different point of view towards things, and hopefully not stress because it really affects your health.
Did you hear my last phone call? You don't think that was stressful?
I was
You want to talk about stress?
I didn't want to interrupt. I was just waiting for you to close out that call. But I hear that hair loss can be one of two things. It can be genetic, or it can be like stress related, or perhaps something else.
In most cases, based on what you're describing, it sounds like it's genetic, but we're not doctors.
Okay, then perhaps it might be genetic. But I also hear when it comes to genetic hair loss that everyone could have it, but then again, it could apply to nobody really, because I don't remember where I saw this on the internet when I was doing research, but it has something to do with the way that your skin sits on your scalp, and as you get older, it cuts off certain circulation, and if you massage your scalp, with like an electric massager or something, then you can kind of reverse that trajectory of hair
I can
loss.
Guarantee you read that on the internet somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard that there was like a Japanese study like in the 1980s or something like that where, it takes 6 or 7 months of, at least a massage, I don't know, maybe 5 days or 5 minutes every day for that 6-month period. But so I've been trying that. And then I don't know if you all are familiar.
I hope at the very least it strengthens your grip because it's not going to do anything for your hair.
Okay, good to know. Well, you don't really, there's really, this isn't common knowledge. You really have to do a lot of research, and then you come across stuff like that, that gets debunked.
Yeah, you really do.
But, I'm just calling for your opinions on some of this stuff.
Of
but
course.
there's also something else.
And I just want to let you know, like,
called,
if I come off sometimes as I'm joking around or a little bit of a smart ass when you bring up these things that, the wives' tales and stuff like that, this is a show. So we're just having a little fun. We're just having a little fun as well. So I don't want you to think we're having fun at your expense.
Oh, no, sir, not at all.
Okay.
The other question I had is the violet ray. Are you familiar with that device?
The violet ray. I am not familiar with
Violet
that. I am not familiar with that device.
Okay, so I think some beauticians still use it, but they use it for skincare problems like acne and bacteria and cellular rejuvenation, that kind of thing.
Where are you
But
located,
I hear that
by the way?
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. Okay.
But I hear that it can also help with hair loss. Basically, what it is it's this device that plugs into the into your electrical socket, and there's a little Tesla coil in it, and then you put in these little glass rods that glow neon, and apparently they're supposed to, I don't know, do something with ultra high frequency, and of course, just the light itself. It's supposed to offer some kind of rejuvenation for the hair. At the cellular level or something like that. So I assume that if you all have not heard about that device, then perhaps you couldn't offer any kind of opinion on it.
No, I cannot offer any opinion on it, but I can tell you, and Joe, I'll let Joe speak in a second. Sorry, Joe. I will tell you that you're going down. It's almost like you're a guy from 1975. You're going down that route. You know what I mean? I mean, this is the kind of shit that I used to read about. I had to find
of magazines.
in magazines and the library.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that if you walk outside right now or sit in a cafe or a coffee shop, count the number of young, balding guys you see. At least 2/3 of men by the age of 35 are dealing with hair loss. If massage and these services that are offered in beauty salons benefited anybody, this would not be a projected $20-some-odd billion industry in the next 3 years.
Yeah.
That's just reality.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't feel that most people would have the discipline to do something like that on a daily basis. And I think a lot of people want quick fixes for these things. So
When I was 22 years old, I hung upside down with gravity boots. I put concoctions in my hair with hot towels. I could be getting laid. I'd get up. I'd bring a little bag of my products in a girl's apartment and say, I have to do this. I had more discipline in life than I think most human beings have. And I can tell you this, if you told a balding guy if they had to run 5 miles a day to keep their hair at 2 a.m, they would do it. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, those are great points, and it just kind of segues into what I wanted to say. It's like, what you're going through now, caller, is exactly what a lot of other people go through. They look at the scalp massages. They look at the there's some. I'll put it like this: if you go on Reddit, or if you go on to some of these websites that talk about hair loss and how to fight it, you will see enough people that have more discipline than a Navy SEAL when it comes to sourcing ingredients for topical solutions or sometimes even oral solutions that they compound in their own homes from places far off that you have to do a lot of research to find. There are more people than you realize on the planet that have the discipline of a Navy SEAL to do what it takes to fight their hair loss. Even people that have no discernible hair loss, they have it in their head that they do, and they will move heaven and earth trying to find that solution. And so the problem with that is there are people that take advantage of that need for monetary gain. And so what you're talking about with these items is perfectly normal for you to be interested in them. And I'm glad that you asked about them, because you're not the only person that's looking at these things. A lot of people that are watching or listening to this broadcast have come across these or will come across these items in the future. So it's important to understand that there's one underlying we'll say a common denominator that would bind all of these treatments together if any of them actually worked. It'd be on the cover of what used to be called Time magazine. That's what I used to say when Time magazine was a thing, and it's true.
Yeah.
It would be on the front of every newspaper. It'd be all over Twitter, like all insert news source here. It would be there because there's been billions of dollars poured into finding the cure, so to speak, and no one has done it with these treatments, these mechanisms that are introduced: violet light, laser light, LED light, radio frequency, micro needling. Some of these things can have a little bit of an effect,
Yeah.
but nothing is reliable enough to be replicated consistently. Just because one guy might actually have some sort of positive response, it doesn't mean that you will, and most likely you won't. And that's the problem with all of this. People will spend thousands of dollars on even just one laser cap can cost $3,000. When you can go onto Amazon and order one, or Alibaba for $100, that's basically the same thing. Because all those lights in those laser caps are the exact same thing. Same wavelength, same power output, and they can't be any different because of regulations in the States. It can't be sold. All of these treatments, like I said, if they actually had a consistent result that could be replicated from one patient to the next, would be a cure. And this is something that man has been seeking for thousands of years, a cure to their hair loss. So I understand it, I get it, but these things they're not going to do anything for you.
Good to know.
So the best thing to do.
Earlier...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I was interrupting you. What were you saying?
Well, before I continue, I want to say you're in Seattle, but my guess is you're not from Seattle. Am I correct?
I'm from all over. How did you guess?
Yeah, because you keep saying yes, sir, and no one in Seattle says yes, sir, if they're from Seattle.
Texas.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it. I was going to say the South, but okay, close enough. Yeah. See, I used to live in Seattle, so I know it well. No one says yes, sir, because it's considered to be rude. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to look for these treatments and to be sucked into. Oh wow, well I saw a study from 1980. Well, if that study actually had any merit, then we wouldn't be sitting here today, because we wouldn't have hair loss. I wouldn't have gone through 10 hair transplants. So I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I do get it. I do get it. But what you need to understand is there are the things that your beautician might tell you, and the only reason they're telling you this is because they might have some sort of financial, vested interest in telling you about it. I used to have this woman used to cut my hair, and she'd tell me about these products from France. It's actually a really good line of shampoos and stuff. But they had this one shampoo that she was pushing for hair loss. She's like, "Oh, you work in the industry? Yeah, you can try this." I'm like, "No, it doesn't do anything." And understand that there are some products out there that might be topical, or there might be shampoos, and they say, "Oh yeah, use this for your hair loss." And if there's any sort of truth to it actually working, look at the list of ingredients. You'll probably find minoxidil, because that's what it comes down to. There's only a few things in this world that actually do work.
So we're going to get to a bottom line.
And their medications.
Caller, everything Joe told you is correct. Here's the bottom line. You're right about trying to avoid a hair transplant. Surgery is a last resort. Jesus Christ. Surgery is a last resort. But you need to see a doctor. If you are continuing to progress in your hair loss, even if it's slowly, it's only going to get worse.
Very slow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Taking the time to, and you could do all the massages you want. If you think it's helping, great. Massage away. Good luck. I hope it helps you in some way.
Well, thank you.
But if you really want to prevent further hair loss, if you think you are progressing, medication is the only way to go. Now, with that said, you may have just gotten to a point where you have a relatively mature hairline with slight recession in the front. The only way to really know is for a doctor to go in there with a digital microscope or a densitometer and to check for your percentage of miniaturization of your hair follicles. If there is no miniaturization, or if it's a normal percentage of miniaturization, you may not be dealing with male pattern hair loss. It may have just become a mature hairline. If he or she does see miniaturization, then you know what you're dealing with, and you treat it appropriately.
Good to know. All right. So you guys don't. You were mentioning
Minoxidil.
Yes, was a remedy for some hair loss. What about copper peptides? Have you heard anything about them?
Yes, I wrote a book 30 years ago called The Bald Truth, and I had a little section on copper peptides and all the happy horse shit about copper peptides and everything that was being tested about copper peptides. And, honestly, at this point, and there was this guy, Dr. Picard, and other doctors out there selling their copper peptides. There were products I wanted to advertise on my radio program at the time, selling their copper peptides. None of it really came to fruition after 30 years, knowing about this for 30 years. I don't know of a single human being who's ever had long-term success. They may have thought they had some short-term success with topical copper peptides. So they're still selling them. You can still buy a product. You can give it a shot if you want. But I'm telling you, if you actually have androgenetic alopecia, you have two options. Let it progress or get on medication. You need something to lower your DHT. And I'm not a doctor. That's what any reasonable physician will tell you. So,
alrighty. Well, thank you so much for all your knowledge. It really put my concerns to rest with all this extra stuff.
Well, good. And you know what? If you're not progressing rapidly, then you're in a good position. You have time, and you can see a doctor, and you can get an assessment. You can see what's going on, and then you'll know what to do. All right, brother?
Alrighty. Thanks again.
Good luck. Take care.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Yes, it's David calling from Los Angeles.
David from Los Angeles. What's happening, brother?
Not much. My call more is just to kind of, I guess, echo what you guys are kind of saying. I can understand how your guys' point of view kind of helps everybody from the spectrum in terms of where you should go, how you should start. And kind of listen to each particular person, and also give you your own knowledge. It's really awesome that you guys do that, and you wish that there were more platforms that were like that, that offered that type of advice, and you wish that more men or just more people in general who are looking for things like this aren't afraid to kind of speak up or speak out and kind of get those questions. Because we're in the internet, like you mentioned before earlier, where you're starting to see that. And then you having to put this broadcast out kind of helps out. So I just feel like coming on here and kind of echoing that and seeing if there are other people that are on there are listening to you guys. I'd share my experience.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for that. And there's a reason why there aren't other people out there who are in a position to tell the truth. They can't afford to tell the truth. If they're online and they are somehow making their content about hair loss, the only way they can continue if they decide to make it a business venture is to tell, a version of the truth in some cases. but they are unable to really provide people with the information they need to make informed decisions because they can't afford to.
And to do so with empathy.
Exactly. They can't afford to. Like Joe and I, Joe's in the industry for a very long time. This has been my hustle. I figured out a way to earn by telling the truth since 1998. So it's unique. It's very, very difficult. You are in the crosshairs. You're in the crosshairs of both the industry and the consumers who don't want to hear the truth, or the consumers who think, well, there's got to be something. He's got to be making money somehow. Well, yeah, of course I am.
Yeah.
I talk about that all the time, how I've made my money over the years, what I do. But now at this stage of my life, no mas, don't need any of that shit. We're able to do what we do. So thank you for recognizing what we're doing. And thank you for not arguing with us like May. So go ahead, man. Tell us your story.
May in the chat room saying, May says, freaking pranksters. It's all in good fun, May.
Yeah, I mean, it's all understanding. I mean, it's everybody's perspective. Maybe there was just something there where they just didn't understand you guys. But from my experience, of course, I was one of those guys that kind of looked on the internet and I was kind of like, I ain't going to do that. I mean, it's going to mess up my head. I've had it. My father actually was looking to do it. He never was wanting to do it because of all the bad results. Like a story would be, he would go to a market and there would be a guy that had a certain register that he would go to go check out. And just because this guy's hair transplant was really bad, he let it all go. And my father would always go to that particular one just as like, yeah, I made a good decision of not doing it.
That's interesting.
Years ago.
How old is your father?
He's 66.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, during the time he was probably considering it, it was the dark ages of hair transplant surgery, same with me. And he would have been totally effed.
Yeah. And I mean, I can definitely understand that. And you can see, I mean, from the technology and stuff like that, how it's advanced. But, I mean, yeah, I've seen that. For me, what kind of made me kind of, I guess, jump over the wall and kind of like, I kind of see that it's something that is doable. It's one, I got to see kind of like my idols like Deion Sanders and Brian Urlacher and guys like that in football, guys that I respected as a man, who are tough, be able to be vulnerable and show like, yeah, I was a little insecure about not having hair, but this is what I went to go do. And I was like, what? No way. Okay. Maybe this is something that's actually in my ballpark then.
I just want to let you know, while I think it was great that they came out, you have to understand that the company itself, it wasn't as though they walked in to my knowledge, they just walked in for a consultation. This is something that was offered. This was and again, this is just from the knowledge that I have. I could be incorrect. So the company that did Urlacher is free to contact us and fill us in if I'm speaking out of turn here. However, what happens a lot is if a company, especially a larger chain type of company, has the resources, they will reach out to celebrities, whatever it is, and offer them free hair transplant surgery, plus the opportunity to kind of be a spokesperson for cash. And I can almost guarantee that's how Urlacher got involved. I don't think he walked in off the street and said, hey, this is what I plan to do, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be the spokesperson for this company.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. More from my perspective, just kind of seeing these men that normally I wouldn't think would do something like that actually do it, which kind of made me look into it a little bit more further and kind of doing some research. Because I did actually have a brother looking into it as well, and me and him are a little bit different, where I'm more kind of skeptical or analytical. I'm going to do my research, kind of take a look around, see what else I can find out, whereas he's more like, I'm going to just go do it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where you kind of what you're throwing out there is, hey, just because somebody just did that, don't just jump into anybody, and say that, that's what you're going to do. So I guess I've seen these guys in a light where, I idolize them as my childhood. Some people like Spider-Man and Batman. I like football players and baseball players,
Sure.
stuff like that. But, yeah, so for me, I started to do more research. I started to look a little bit more on all these social media platforms, the YouTubes, the Instagrams, the Facebooks. I would use keywords for, first I would do my research and understand the types of hair transplants. And the ones that came out to me was the first thing about FUE. I started to do a little bit more research and find out trigger language that I would Google, and also look on the social media sites. And I would actually reach out to people who were vulnerable and actually showing that they would get hair transplants and ask them where they got it done. And they would actually give me those people's names. I would research doctors and research their work. So social media kind of helped me in a way to like reach out to people, because when you go to these offices, the one thing I did notice is that sometimes they'll have one patient come in, they'll do their whole review with them, whether they did a transplant, and they're just kind of going over what the results are and taking pictures and asking any questions. And then a person that's coming in, well, we're going to put them in a separate room and not really have them interact. So I've kind of noticed that, and that's probably like a sales technique or something like that.
That's kind of like, that's an old Bosley technique, especially here in Los Angeles, where they actually had separate waiting rooms. They had waiting rooms for the people who were having consultants, and then there was a waiting room for those who've already had the surgery. They did not want them to meet.
No.
Right. And that, I mean, for me, that kind of was like, that's kind of weird. I mean, I've been in sales before. I mean, you kind of want to be able to, interact. What's the customer saying? That's just going to be something more for me to feel good about the decision that I'm making to be.
That's one of the best ways when you're in a clinic that actually produces good work. You actually encourage that to happen, and you do have one waiting room where past patients and potential patients can sit down and talk to each other. And the past patient basically sells the surgery for them. That's how it works. Are you in your car? Because with your window down or something?
I am in my car, yeah, but my window's not down. Might be, I'm in a bumpy road.
That's what we heard.
When he's speaking, his microphone gates his sound, so it's fine.
Yeah. Very cool.
Okay. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay. So yeah, those are some things that I just kind of experienced in terms of that. But what I will say is that the education that you guys are providing as far as making sure before people are thinking about it that I didn't have, just because I don't know, maybe I just didn't think that it was something that can really work. I'm a person that needs to go through something first for me to be able to really understand it, I guess you could say.
So what happened?
But, I get it.
Joe's got to leave at 5 sharp. He just told me, so I want to hear your story. So what happened?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so taking the minoxidil, taking the what's the other one? I can't even think of it.
Finasteride. Yeah.
That's important. That is important. I agree with it. Definitely try it out first. Save what you have right now, and keep the stuff that you do have and make it stronger. I will say for me, in my own experience, going from the topical minoxidil to the oral minoxidil, I have seen a difference for me personally. And I'll say this, the doctor that I went through, I was one of those people that went through HIMSS, and they said, well, you can go through me, and I have insurance. I was able to save myself over $200 a month just by going through my doctor's prescription.
So,
Again, this is just me ignorant, not knowing these avenues to go about.
well, that's fine. And here's the thing.
Mhm.
So you had a hair transplant, right?
I did, yes.
Okay. Where did you go?
I went to a place in Orange County,
Okay.
the Verona Restoration.
Right. So he's
Verona.
Dr. Verona is an IAHS accepted member. He's a doctor that we work with for for quite a long time, and he's really a caring, excellent FUE surgeon, and he's doing the majority of the work himself, which is rare.
He did an excellent job when it came to my results.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
that's where I would say a lot of my worries, he was able to kind of go ahead and calm them down.
He's unusually good at
as
what he
far as-
does, and I will tell you that in the entire time he's been an accepted IAHS member, we haven't received a single complaint. That is rare.
Yeah, and
so
that is
you made a good
definitely
pick.
something. Yeah, and I will say through social media, through other people, was the way that I was able to go ahead and find him. I didn't find him directly through, I would say, other channels. I saw some guys that I was looking at in social media, and they put it out there, and I directly reached out to them, and they gave me doctors' names, and some of these doctors were not even close to me. So, I was kind of searching around and seeing which ones were in my vicinity, and it ended up working out. And I was really, really happy with it. For the guys that are more kind of skeptical about doing it, sure, definitely go through the process in terms of, making sure you are doing your due diligence, looking up all the things that you feel need to go, off your checklist, do it. But I feel like and maybe it's just the perspective from what I've seen from my father and, and also seeing other men not doing it or doing it, basically I feel like these hair transplants are like, breast implants. I mean, that's kind of what for me, I reason it as. I mean, that there's so many damn women that do it out there. And, for men, it's almost the same thing. Like, for women,
you
they might
happen
be-
to have a really good experience. You found a really great doctor. And, what's great about social media now is, and I tell the docs this, it used to be years ago where doctors were just concerned about how they're going to get leads and where they're going to get their leads from. Social media has kind of created a situation where people find physicians and they gain access to physicians from all over. They don't even know where they're getting it from. The patients that you spoke to may have found our show at some point, or the IHRS, or Joe's websites, or the American Hair Loss Association, and then they kind of checked and counter-checked with with those organizations, and then they had their experiences and were able to share it with you. So I do think there's a tremendous benefit to using social media well. But what you just said, I think, is interesting, and I think, we kind of have to tread lightly and be careful when we equate hair transplant surgery to breast augmentation. And I also don't think that most women realize the real dangers and the possible complications of breast augmentation. At least 25% of breast implants actually will develop. It's basically scar tissue, hardening of the breast. In any other realm of surgery, if you were to tell somebody even the best surgeons have a 25% failure rate, people would be like, what the fuck? So,
True.
So when it comes to
True.
hair transplant surgery, it's more like 7 out of 10 patients in today's market who have a hair transplant range from being dissatisfied to disfigured. You're one of the 30% who lucked out, had a great experience, and did enough due diligence where you still lucked out, because you could have been sent. You could have met the wrong person who happened to have a good result with a mediocre doctor and went with them, and you could have had a bad result. So you happen to find the best of the best as far as FUE is concerned here in the LA area. And that's why you're able to speak so positively about it. And, we just want everyone to be able to speak positively about it. Your dad would not have been happy, trust me. He's 66. Say he would have had it done in the 80s or 90s. He would have been fucked.
That's true. Well, now that my father's seen it, now he's thinking about doing it. But at the same time,
there you go.
He's regressed a lot more. He's let 66 years of aging happen to him. So it's not going to just take, one surgery for him to be able to have, the coverage that he's.
Believe it or not, even at his advanced age, he's not that much older than me. I mean, he's got, I guess he is. He's like 8 years older than me. But even at his advanced age, medication can put him in a position a year from now, say, where a transplant may be even one good surgery could even benefit him. He may regrow or reverse the miniaturization of his donor. He may regrow some hair that he's lost in the last 5 years. So if he's interested in doing something like this, he needs to prep way before surgery.
Yeah.
And Dr. Verona is a guy that can guide him, and not try to push him to get into the chair.
Right.
So, listen, brother, I'm glad Joe's got to go. I would stay, but Joe runs the show. It's his channel. What am I going to do? But you're a great example of someone who did their due diligence, who's someone who has, even though you didn't have all the information you needed, like you said, there were some things that you may not have because you didn't find the show. You had enough and you made the right decisions. And I'm really happy for you, man. How old are you now?
Yeah.
I'm 42.
All right. You're a young dude still.
Okay.
Your transplant could last you a decade or more, especially if you're on meds. You may not progress, for a very long time. You could really enjoy a lot of life.
I'll check in with you guys and ask you any questions if I run into anything. But like I said,
we will
just
be
wanted
here.
to kind of put out that message. Yeah, I appreciate it. I just wanted to put out that message to other guys that are listening. And then just thanking you guys for kind of using your platform to help other people out. It's good. It's really good for the people that are kind of on the edge.
Well, brother, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm so happy that you had a good experience. Trust me, I wish more guys called in with positive experiences than they do. Besides you and May, we don't get a lot of that. And, we get sadly, we get a lot of guys who've been fucked up. So good for you.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good weekend, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the call.
All right, then, guys.
Thanks for calling, man. Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yep.
You too.
Bye.
He's not forcing anybody to have a hair transplant. He's just saying, look, this is my experience. And it was a good one.
That's right. It's nice to have that.
100%. Callers, listen, I'm sorry. You should have called earlier. Joe's got to go. I'd like to go too. So I'm going to hang up. And, but thank you for holding on. I'm sorry that we couldn't take your call. Guys, I want to let all of you know that I'm doing some lives on Instagram. And the Instagram live that I'm doing is actually a call-in show. It's unique to Instagram. I've done 2. And I was pleasantly surprised at the fact that we had calls all the way through. I could have just stayed on.
Yeah.
Unlike YouTube, where we get calls. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people just become complacent. They want to talk. They want to hang out in the chat.
That's the thing about about Instagram. There's the Instagram. There's no chat. I like that.
Well,
I mean, there kind of is.
There
but
is,
it's
but
not,
it's not the
like this.
same. Yeah, and
Yeah, it's too small of a window and it flies by too fast.
And I tell these guys who are asking me questions on Instagram, look, I'm specifically doing this as a call-in show. No one else is doing
You can
this.
ask your questions.
There's no one online on Instagram that's doing this. They either don't have the ability to do it, they don't have the skill set to do it, or they don't want to just take questions without a screener. They want to be able to read the questions that they feel they can answer.
Yeah.
A lot of anti-aging biohacking people do that. It's actually unbelievable. So,
Yep.
at Spencer Kobren, take the time to follow me. You will be alerted when I go live. Some days I may not even have a shirt, if that's helpful. Or I have a hat on.
You can't miss that. You can't miss that.
I may show you, I may have a camera that's just showing my bald spot. And we'll figure that out.
We'll figure that out.
The bald scam. The bald scam. The
We'll
bald
work
cam.
together. Oh, okay.
The bald
The
scam.
bald cam.
The bald cam. I said the bald scam. That's not a Freudian slip, people. I paint my bald spot.
That's good.
All right, guys.
Paint your bald spot?
I paint my bald spot. Thebaldtruth.com. Hair Transplant Mentor is youtube.com/hair transplant mentor. That's the hair transplant channel for Joe Tillman. Until next time, be strong. God bless. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.